country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Well, it sure is, and I'm glad to have you here as we roll into another big hour. It's like ripping the top off a Christmas present, isn't it? You just never know what you're going to get, but good stuff is on the way. How about this? Three big things this hour. Number one, ranked and yanked. Lawmakers move to ban alternative voting. That's called ranked choice voting, even at the local level. They can't get it signed by the governor because it's a great way to cheat, and they know it. Number two, worms in the system. Worms in the system. What do we mean by that? Well, those Chinese students coming in from Wuhan trying to get pathogens, in this case, a certain kind of pathogenic worm that would destroy agriculture. Agri-terrorism, we call it. And number three, the grand conspiracy. The grand conspiracy. It continues to unfold. John Solomon says more investigations into dirty dealers. James Comey. He hid the truth, folks. The world's tallest Boy Scout, the Swiftie. The Swiftie is going to get some swift justice. That's among other things. Here's something else John Solomon had to say about what's on the horizon, and he's been on the cutting edge of breaking news throughout all of these investigations. Here's what he's got. Listen.
Last week, we told you that the FBI had not one, not two, but three criminal investigations of the Clinton Foundation, but they were all ordered shut down by the Obama Justice Department. Remember the famous quote from Sally Yates, the Deputy Attorney General for Barack Obama, shut it down. Well, today we learned that there was another criminal investigation of the Clinton Foundation, not at the FBI, but at the Internal Revenue Service, the IRS. That too, well, it got shut down, ironically, in President Trump's first administration. We learned that from a lawsuit that's making its way, a whistleblower lawsuit, making its way through the U.S. tax court system. Now, we're going to have more documents on this coming up in the next couple of days, so keep an eye on justthenews.com. The protection racket around the Clintons, Hunter Biden, all the others in the Democratic Party, at the same time they were smearing President Trump with investigations and false Russia collusion allegations, becoming more and more clear just how much a dual system of justice we have. These documents are up on Just the News right now. We'll have new ones coming out in the next 48 hours. All right.
JustTheNews.com. I don't mind promoting John Solomon. He is one of the greatest investigative journalists, maybe the best, of our time. Still living in the wild, not perverted to go all the way to the left. So it's, yeah, it's a big deal. So you got that going. All right, so let's talk about D.C. I'll be there next week, as you know. I've told you that I'll be there covering the White House. And who knows? Every week's a big week. We never know what's going to happen. On Monday, I do know this, though. I'll have a series of interviews with cabinet members. Special invitation for yours truly to go interview a number of cabinet members. I'm not sure which ones I'm going to get quite yet, but they're putting it together for me, and I'll have the list for you maybe before I go. Maybe not. But I'd like to talk to Brooke Rollins about the ag terrorism we're seeing here in Michigan. I'd like to talk about that. I'd like to talk about that with her. Sean Duffy, obviously, we want to talk about these illegal aliens getting CDLs and getting people killed because they can't even read the road signs. They can't speak the language. They should never be behind the wheel. How do we allow this to happen? That's somebody I'd like to talk to, and so on and so forth. So we'll be talking about, if we have the list by tomorrow, I'll share it with you on Free for All Friday. And if we don't, well, then you'll just have to join me next week and find out who we get to talk to. All right? Moving along, let's talk about D.C. a little bit more. Congressman Tim Burchett from Tennessee, who I really like. He should be a senator. He's about as funny as John Kennedy of Louisiana. He drop kicks Dana Bash for suggesting the National Guard go to Memphis, Tennessee, instead of the nation's capital. It seems she doesn't understand how it works. Here it is.
Are you okay with your state's National Guard resources being used to deter crime here in Washington? And why not in your home state?
Yes, ma'am, I am. Washington, D.C., of course, is a creation of the Congress, and I believe it's within the president's constitutional purview. And, you know, lawlessness outbreaks, there's a lot of political wherewithal in Memphis, Tennessee. It has a really a history of you know, the political, I guess I won't say political gangs, but political families have run that town, and they've run it into the ground. And some of the
So why not
nicest
send
people in the
National Guard
world
troops there? It's a red state.
It's not a federally created environment. Washington, D.C. is a federally created environment. It is our nation's capital. When people pull in to Washington, D.C. and they see someone going to the bathroom on the curb, or they see crime, or you see Washington, D.C. bureaucrats come to the oversight committee and tell us that there is no crime, yet during that very hearing, a group of thugs carjacked a kid in a Jeep. And another thing, I think they're just out of touch. If you go back and look at that meeting in oversight, Dana, they had 6 white men explaining to the committee, and I made the and I asked, I said, why are there not any people of color? Why are there not any black folks on this thing? And the activists in the crowd, who were neighborhood people that were the victims of all this, they were nodding in agreement. I think you've got a bureaucracy in Washington that's out of touch with what's going on with reality.
Yeah. Out of touch with what's going on in reality, including Dana Bash, who doesn't understand Washington, D.C. is not a state. It doesn't work that way. You can't just send federal troops into a state. There has to be a lot behind that. I mean, it's been done. President Eisenhower sent the National Guard, federalized them, sent them into Little Rock, Arkansas in 1957 to desegregate the school system there, with 9 black kids going into an all-white school. The governor of Arkansas tried to block it. He was stopped for that. And speaking of D.C., one more from Stephen Miller today. I just can't help it. Crushing the elderly hippies that are trying to keep D.C. frozen in fear, these fools. Listen.
For too long, 99% of this city has been terrorized by 1% of the city. And the voices that you hear out there, those crazy communists, they have no roots. They have no connections to the city. They have no families they are raising in this city. They have no one that they are sending to school in this city. They have no jobs in this city. They have no connections to this community at all. But they're the ones who've been advocating for the 1%, the criminals, the killers, the rapists, the drug dealers. And I'm glad they're here today, because me, Pete, and the Vice President are all going to leave here, and inspired by them, we're going to add thousands more resources to this city to get the criminals and the gang members out of here. We're going to dismantle those networks, and we're going to prove that a city can serve for the law-abiding citizens who live there. We are not going to let the communists destroy a great American city, let alone the nation's capital. And let's just also address one other thing. All these demonstrators that you've seen out here in recent days, all of these elderly white hippies, they're not part of the city and never have been. And by the way, most of the citizens who live in Washington, D.C. are black. This is not a city that has had any safety for its black citizens for generations. And President Trump is the one who is fixing that with the support of the Metropolitan Police Department, the support of the National...
He's the one fixing that, is President Trump, protecting the black citizens. He's so right. Stephen Miller, filleting once again the idiotic talking points of the left. God bless America. I'll be back with State Representative John Roth after this, all right? Putting the finishing touches on common sense, fiscally responsible budget. All right, after this.